Lea's worked in leadership roles for over 20 years. She has been a well-recognized expert in the field of emotional intelligence for the past 12 years. She has presented at conferences throughout North America and around the world to peers, earning her the moniker Emotional Intelligence in Action.
So I'm having a few second thoughts about this bungee jumping thing, and especially I wanted to know if I'd be safe. So I'm looking at the people who are working there, and I'm wondering if I can trust them. Well, there's this little boy, sitting on the ground, and he's cuffing us and putting these cuffs on. And if you know anything about bungee jumping, you have cuffs and they are attached to the cord before you jump. And I'm supposed to trust him with my life. He was like 12. But I got into a conversation with him, and what he told me was this whole procedure that he went through in order to make sure everybody was safe. And one of the best things that he did was, at the start of the day, he made this commitment that he would jump himself. Now that's commitment. So I felt pretty good. He knew what he was doing. So then you have these little ankle things, and you have to hop like this into the cage. And there is another girl, again, 12, Katie, pigtails. She looks like the girl in the Wendy's commercial. And she's operating the heavy machinery that takes us up 120 feet. And so I'm talking to her to see if I can trust her. Well, I finally said, and I'm white. I'm scared stiff. And I looked at her and I said, "It's okay, Katie, I trust you." And she reached out and she put her hand on my shoulder and said, "That's great. But it's more important that you trust yourself. Because if you don't want to do this, there's no shame in coming down. A lot of people do. If you're okay with this, trust me, we've made sure you're safe." And so I had the decision to make. So you look down. 120 feet's a long way down. And I looked, and I moved to the edge. And I jumped. It was so cool. It was so cool. And what I learned from that is that you have to trust yourself first. Now there's a whole process that we can go through that I can show you all of the criteria for trust, but at the center of it is trusting yourself first. I knew that they cared about me. They were consistent in all the work that they did. They were obviously very competent, even though they were like 4. And they cared. They really did care. So what about you? Have you ever had those moments when you had to trust someone else so much that the cost to you was huge if they failed? You would figuratively splatter all over the place. Well, in order to trust, you have to be able to understand yourself, and you have to be able to understand others. And that's a function of your emotional intelligence.
Emotional intelligence is knowing how to make sense of your own and others' feelings, and by doing so, create the best possible outcomes. Her dynamic delivery, humor, and warmth leave audiences with the inspiration to make positive changes and the strategies to make it happen. It's been a pleasure and honor to work with you on the conference. Your spirit, enthusiasm, optimism, and warmth exemplifies emotional intelligence in action. Lea is a professional who takes unconditional pride in her work and her ability to deliver value. Call Lea today to find out how you can improve performance with the strategic use of emotional intelligence.